Hi guys, welcome to the second part of the animal reproduction chapter. Now in this recording we're going to look in depth on how exactly ovulation happens, fertilization and implantation in reproduction. And we're going to look at different methods of like how we can detect when a cow is in estrus, or as we say, in heat. Now the previous recording you can see the female and the male reproductive system. I kept those separate because it's really important that you know those diagrams. They've come up in previous years and they're likely to come up again. Now, just to look through, we're talking about ovulation and obviously gestation. Ovulation is the release of the egg from the ovary. Gestation is when a cow is pregnant. Okay, again, the days they're pregnant for, we'll be going through with different organisms, so the cattle, sheep and pigs. Now, just to draw your attention to this as well. So the fallopian tube is also called the oviduct. It can be called either or in a diagram. So it's really important that we're aware of that. And anyone doing biology, I said this in the previous recording, but there's a lot. The same words are used. So there's a big overlap in content here. So this should be a bit easier for you. Anyway, so during the reproductive, so the estrous cycle, an egg is released from the ovary. That is ovulation. Again, it happens once every 21 days for cows. That's what we're looking at cows in a bit more detail, right? Because there's chapters on dairy, there's chapters on beef as well. So fertilization again is when the male gamete and the female gamete fuse. Now the male gamete is the sperm, the female gamete is the egg. Okay, the sperm will fertilize an egg. Only one sperm will fertilize one egg. There might be thousands of sperm around an egg, and after maybe AI or after natural copulation, which is sexual intercourse between the bull and the cow, but only one gets in. After that, an enzyme barrier forms around the egg and only one can enter. Now, when we're talking about twins, there can be two examples of that. There might be two eggs released in every 21 days, which would be unusual. Usually only one is, and two separate sperm fertilize the egg. That they're non-identical, so that can be a male and a female. Then you can also have when the zygote, when the egg is fertilized by the sperm, the zygote can actually split, and implantation happens with two eggs that are identical. That's identical. The same happens with humans. So again, it's now called a zygote. It develops into what we call an embryo. Okay, and when we're talking about the embryo, okay, it's important to note that it's just when the zygote divides by mitosis to form a cell division, it just forms a ball of cells, and that's an embryo without separating. It divides by mitosis. Again, it says it divides by mitosis and becomes an embryo. Eventually, the embryo develops into the fetus, but before that, it actually implants itself into the uterus. The uterus is another word for a womb. Again, the animal carries the fetus until it gives birth. Okay, 283 days for a cow. Now, just again, looking at this table. Okay, so I've just changed it up slightly. So gestation, when we're talking about in months for cattle, 9.5 months. So 9.5 months, you'll see there, it's 283 days. The gestation in days, you need to know it in both months and days, because it can be asked in either. Estrus, so that means how often there's an egg available, so every 21 days. And duration, let's say 18 hours, but 18 to 24 hours. Okay, there's a range there. If you said anything in the exam between 18 and 24, you're getting the full marks. So maybe 20 might be a good one to learn there. Okay, or even 24. That's the range of the mark scheme when you get the marks, because it's not just 24 hours. Okay, that's there. It can be there for 18 to 24 hours. So that's important. So it may not be a full day. So it's important if you're AIing the cows that you get them as soon as you know that they're in heat. Pigs then, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, or 115 days. You need to know either or. You could be asked days, you could be asked how many months. So just learn that. Again, it's really important. That has come up. Similar to then the cattle, it's 21 days. Every 21 days there's an egg there, but it lasts for 2 to 3 days. Okay, or you can see there 48 to 72 hours. That's kind of what we're looking at. Then for sheep, again, 5 months or 147 days. That's because the range on previous marking schemes went up to 144 to 150. I think 147 is what I learned, I would have learned as a student, and it's what I encourage my students to learn. Reason being, the maximum break in snooker is actually 147. So that's how I always remembered it. And you might not be into snooker, but just learn 147 days. Then every 18 days they come into heat. and that can last for a day and a half, or 24 to 36 hours. Okay, so a day to a day and a half, or 24 to 36 hours. That you need to know that. Those questions keep on coming up year after year, and they can, that could come into any chapter, or any any question in the exam. So it's really important we know that. Now, when we're talking about just different kind of breeding strategies and why you select different breeds, selective breeding has happened for generations. So farmers have been picking the best. It could be for the beef production, it could be for the most milk. They're selecting the best and they're breeding from them, and that's still going on today. But today we can pick the best bulls. We can use the AI, so the artificial insemination. So the semen from the top quality bull we can use on our farm as a dairy farmer. So you get the best bulls, and that's going to increase the genetic merit of your farm. So in dairy we call that the EBI. Now, so the main steps involved, okay, this is selective breeding. So again, it's taking place over many generations. You're always picking the best. The main steps involved then. So you decide which characteristics are important enough to select. Okay, you choose parents that show these characteristics. And thirdly, you choose the best offspring from parents to produce the next generation. So you're picking the best, which is demonstrating hybrid vigor. That means the best of both parents. You'll often see that. You'd pick the best all the time. As a farmer, you're looking for the best. As you know, I'm a dairy farmer, so we pick the best offspring to come into the herd. Obviously we need female heifers, we've Frisian heifers coming into the herd, but again, you pick the best based on their genetics, based on their mothers, and obviously the bulls. So the sire is the bull, the dam is the cow. And finally, you keep repeating the process. Just again, moving on to some of the more important stuff. I'm not going to go through everything here. I kind of just highlight the important bits. So there's two types of breeding strategies then. In breeding, that involves mating animals of the same breed. Okay, so they may be related animals. So they're purebred, okay, for that reason. And then crossbreeding is when you're looking at two different breeds and you're looking for hybrid vigor or heterosis. You see there I've highlighted hybrid vigor. That means the offspring is getting the best of both parents. So you could be crossing two different breeds and the offspring shows it's better than either parent on its own. An example of that would be a Jersey cow and a Holstein. Holstein are known for high milk yield. Jerseys are known for high solids, so fat and protein. The offspring then is a cross between the two, and it's high yielding and high solids. That's a good example of hybrid vigor. So it's a good farm practice. Now, when we're talking about stock selecting, why do we select some of these animals? You can see there I've highlighted like the physical appearance. That's the phenotype. The genotype is the genetics. So that would be the EBI. So you could have a cow that scores 200 and a cow that scores €100 and the EBI. The €200 one is 100 times, like €100 better than it. And that's how it's measured. Whereas when we're selecting stock, farmers tend to look at the phenotype as well. That's what they look like. And when we talk about that, it could be the conformation, which is the shape, or how quickly it puts on muscle, or it could be milk production. All of these things are important when you're selecting what you want in your herd, because farmers can only milk so many cows. There's lots of regulations coming in now with the environment and how much nitrogen they're producing on the farm. So it's really, really important that you have the best quality animals. So you're milking the best quality animals as well. If you're in the milking parlour, less cows you're going to milk the cows that bit quicker as well. So if you have better cows producing better milk, it's going to be more profitable for the farmer. So that's what you'd be always trying to encourage and try and do on your farm. Now, when you're selecting the sire, remember the sire is the bull, the ram, the boar, if we're talking about pigs. Like again, you select these are very similar for why you select the sire and the dam. But the dam is the mother. Maybe good mothering skills is another thing you'd look at that. Prolificity, again, that's how many animals how much, if we're talking about cows, how many calves they produce. But really we talk about prolificity to be beneficial for sheep, because if you have a ewe going into gestation, so going into pregnancy, that they're going to be, if they have two lambs, that's going to be more productive as a sheep farmer. Dairy farmers, it might be you're just looking for a female really, coming into the herd. Why? Because you're going to cull some of your herd as well. But looking at some of the things, why you'd pick a sire. We're looking for so the breed. That's obviously very important for dairy production. You're going to be looking at Friesians, maybe Jerseys, coming into the herd. Pedigree and performance tested. The conformation, again, that's the shape. The body condition score, that's mainly for rams before you bring them in, before you leave them with the ewes, because they'd have to be up around 4, which would be quite high, but they lose a lot of condition during the breeding season. Sound feet and legs, mouth and teeth, and age. That's one of the things where you'd be looking at selecting a bull, a ram, or a boar. For the dam, then, the female, the cow or heifer, the ewe or hogget, or the sow or the gilt, you're looking at health, body condition score, again, conformation, good mouth and teeth, and age, again, is going to be important. The legs and feet, and good udder with functioning teeth. Okay, so you wouldn't, like, if they're missing one of the teeth, you wouldn't be breeding from that. Or if they're already had mastitis, if there's a swelling, a red swelling in the udder, you wouldn't be breeding from that. Could be a ewe, could be a cow. So there's some things you'd be looking for. And prolific, again, multiple births. That's what we look at there. Now, just looking at the methods, like how of servicing the livestock. So the natural method, okay, that's a stock bull. Okay, that's the example we look at there. They will do it naturally. There's less work for the farmer, so again, it's more accurate, and it's useful because farmers might actually pick up on the heat when an animal is in heat. I'll show you, we'll be going through exactly how farmers know that an animal is in heat in a second. But that's some of the advantages. Disadvantages: inbreeding is not controlled, transmission of breeding diseases, and extra feed for the male is required, and you have to keep him. If you're looking at a spring calving herd, you have to keep him over the winter. Again, also the danger of a bull. That's something that's a problem as well with a lot of farms. So that's the last one, health and safety. Again, it's really important, and it's something to be really mindful of. You could have a bull there that you trust, but then come maybe August, they tend to get a bit bored because they might have all the cows and calf, and they tend to get a bit more aggressive. So again, it's really important to never really trust the bull. So natural methods. Yes, it's done if you stock bull. On our farm, we leave our stock bull, which is an Aberdeen Angus, and we leave that with the replacement heifers, and there could be 20 replacement heifers. He's left there from the middle of April onwards. On the actual dairy farm, the milking cows, we use artificial insemination for 2 months, okay, maybe 3 months, right? We'll go through a good few cycles, maybe 3 cycles. So yeah, maybe 2 months we leave for just over about 9 weeks. And then what we do is we bring the stock bull, once he should have all those 20 heifers and calf, then we bring the stock bull to kind of mop up the rest of the dairy herd, so the cows. So then he'll be left to the cows, and anything that hasn't gone and calved through AI is going to be used. Hopefully he will be able to he'll be able to serve, and then those cows will calve down a bit later, which isn't desirable, but again, they're calving down, and obviously the offspring, if they're crossed with an Aberdeen Angus, they will not be going into the dairy herd. They're going to be sold for beef production. The calves, we kind of keep all the heifer calves and we sell all the bull calves. So we'll have a bit of beef production on the farm as well. So advantages, so semen into the female reproductive attracted by artificial means. So an AI technician, and again, while he's doing that, he's actually he's able to guide through the rectum. He places his hand and he just kind of guides a straw where he can feel the cervix, and he just pushes just a small straw semen into the cervix or through the cervix. That's important. Whereas, if you had a bull with a cow and then you were to AI the cow, the AI technician, the semen from that should reach the egg quicker because it goes straight into the cervix. It doesn't have to swim through the vagina and into the cervix. So it should actually be quicker. Advantages: there's economic use of the semen. It controls transmission of breeding diseases. Wide range of sires available. So we've a catalogue of bulls that we select the best from. A small scale farmer who cannot afford to buy a superior bull can have the cows served at low cost. So you're getting the best bull semen, and their genes are passed on. They're going to come into your herd without having to own that bull. Semen can be stored, helps control inbreeding as well, and eliminates the threat of dangerous bulls on the farm. That's a big thing, health and safety. Disadvantages. So again, its harmful characteristics can be spread quickly by one bull to the offspring. But again, these are all tested, tried and tested, so you'd be picking the best bulls. It requires skilled labour, so there's a cost on our farm. We don't AI ourselves, we get a technician in to do it, and that's obviously an extra cost. Low chance of conception due to death of semen during storage. Again, all the equipment would be really good equipment to keep it really at the stored liquid nitrogen. So again, when it's ready to be used, the semen is alive, it's just freezing it with stored. And increased importance of accurate heat detection. Again, you need to be able to detect the heat. This is a technology that's really after revolutionising dairy farming, because the problem was on dairy farms there's too many bull calves. Because farmers, what happened after the quotas were got rid of in 2015, farmers could now produce as much milk as they wanted. And again, that was great. There was export markets like the powdered milk and so on being exported to China and so on. This was great. But what happened was farmers produced, herds grew. And what happened was lots of farms jumped in. Obviously, to have a dairy farm, you need to produce a calf every year, because that's when they start producing milk every year. And what happened was farmers increased their herd size and there was a lot more calves. Now, half of these were obviously female, half were male. These male bull calves, the Jerseys, the Holstein Friesians, even the British Friesians, they weren't great for beef production. So no one really wanted them. So there was no market for them. And what we had was, farmers basically trying to give away their bull calves and not looking after them. And there was a lot of welfare issues with that as a result. But the sex semen, what it does is it takes away all the X chromosomes, all the Y chromosomes, the male chromosomes from the semen, from natural sperm. All those Y sperm, all the male sperm are taken out. So now it's only the X sperm. So that means if there's it's the sperm that determines the sex of the offspring. So what happens now is we have all female calves. It's about 90%, so it works really well. And conception rates have improved on that as well. We've been using it. Started using it in 2022 on our farm and found it really good for getting heifer calves that we wanted. And then we were able to use AI from bulls like Aberdeen Angus and limousines that are going to, when we're selling calves, we're going to make more money from them in the factory. So that's something that has really helped. And then there's not a lot of calves being mistreated as well, because that was what was happening. There's not as much welfare issues with that. Embryo transfer, just to quickly go through this, another type of technology. It's there's hormones given to the cows of really high genetic merit. Okay, loads of eggs are produced, those eggs are actually taken out of the superior cow, and what happens is they're fertilized by a superior bull in a petri dish, so in vitro, it's kind of like IVF. And what happens is those eggs then are placed into cows who are not as genetically superior, so poor EBIs, and they're growing a really good calf as a result. So they're using the best. If you look at this diagram, they're using the best cow, taking the eggs and putting in a not so superior cow. And what that means is it's like a surrogate essentially. And what happens then is you have really good offspring being produced and a poor quality cow carrying it. So again, it's just how technology has advanced just to get the best. Now, this is something that's really important. It's on dairy farms, you have to know if you're AIing when the cow is in heat. And what that means is when is the egg there. So every 21 days this happens. So if we look here, the first one, the primary signs of heat, you can see they're standing to be mounted. So the one in red there is the one in heat. That's what we're looking at there. So that cow is in heat and it stands to be mounted, and that's a sign. So again, farmer needs to be able to see this. Secondary signs, and sometimes the head mounting, but if they're kind of head mounting, they're the ones that are in heat. There's also chin resting, the two of them might be in heat there as well. Sometimes what you might see is like dirt on the flanks. That would show that they have been mounted. Or there might be a cut on their hind quarters. There's cuts there to show that they've been mounted, and there's been a friction and it can cause cuts. That would show that a cow is in heat. But that mightn't be enough. You're not going to be able to see this all the time. Farmer might only see the cows when they're being brought in to be milked. So there's some detection aids that are used, and I'll be talking about those in a few minutes. But there's also sniffing and so on, lip curling. I suppose the primary signs, so standing to be mounted is probably how you know a cow is in heat. That is the primary signs. The secondary signs, again, they're most important, but they're all important if you're able to detect that they're in heat. But something you need to be mindful of when you're observing them. The heat detection aids, you see I just before this video, this recording, I've actually drew on like what looks like a chin ball. So what happens is that chin ball, there's a paint on it, and there's a ball that has a red paint on it, essentially a red marking on it. And what happens is when that bull, it's called a teaser bull or a vasectomized bull, so what that means is his vas deferens have been cut. So yes, he can have an ejaculation, he can mount the other cows, but there's no sperm being released, just seminal fluid. So what that means is when he mounts one of the cows, he leaves a mark on them because with the chin ball. And what that means is it's kind of harnessed. You can see where it's harnessed around in that diagram. But what that means is he will leave a mark, and then you know the AI. That's a teaser bull or a vasectomized bull. Tail painting is just simple enough. That's what it says on the tin. It's just you put paint on just on their tails, and it doesn't get removed easy. And what happens is when they've been mounted, when they're standing to be mounted, what happens is the paint is removed. If you see cows that have their tails remove the paint, you would AI them as well. Then there's some pressure sensitive monitors. Some of these things, even there's scratch cards or these little kind of monitors that burst as well. They can be used. There's a few different ones like that. There's monitor sensors, those collars you might see the cows with, or even on their ankles. They're monitoring the activity, and the activity levels will change. That could be reported, and that's another example of how technology is used on the farm. And that'll come back to the farmer's phone, and he would say, look, the activity is higher, this cow may be in heat. And again, that's something that's really, really helpful. Look, that's just it for the second video on animal reproduction. Give those exam questions a try. See you next time.